Hey guys, welcome back to the internet. I hope you guys aren't sick of this show yet, because we're still going. So as always, we start with the story from my board called Reduce It Now. So I used to work in a supermarket bakery. I was the one on the late shift who reduced the items' price, which were coming to the end of their sell-by date, and I did the closing. There was a lot of customers who would hang around and watch while I reduced the items in question. It was a little annoying, but I put up with it. But there was one woman, an older woman, who always came in and bought all the reduced birthday cakes. And if there wasn't any, she would complain, every time saying, "Oh, it's my grandchild's birthday, they won't have a cake now." Note, she would come in a few times a week and say this, and she was very overweight, so I think it's safe to say the grandkids were not getting it. Another time, the same woman reported me to the store manager for not reducing a very expensive, family-sized fresh cream low enough. I was following the price guide set out, but he made me reduce it lower anyway. Then there was this older Greek woman. She was a Karen, but looked nothing like one. Another penny saver, which nothing was ever cheap enough. At the bakery, we had a glass screen counter with fresh cream cakes and cookies in it. The woman often came up and bought all the reduced cakes. Sometimes the counter was filled with cheap treats. Other times there was nothing on sale. This time was the latter. She says, "Oh, I want the gingerbread men. How much are they?" All prices are on display in front of them, including a reduced ticket price if they're on sale. I say 69p. So the woman, now with her daughter in her 20s and a 10-year-old son, "Oh, but it's 7 p.m. now. They are reduced. How much?" The gingerbread men sell really fast and they're almost never reduced. I say, "No, sorry, nothing is reduced tonight. It's all fresh." The smile slipped from her face and she glared at me. This was a while ago, but I remember it because of how ridiculous and entitled she sounded. She says, "But you always have reductions." "Not always, but often." I say, "Sometimes, but not today." I'm not a people person. I hate people, but I always act polite at work and smile. I've been told how sweet, kind, and helpful I am. She says, "But you can reduce it still." Technically I could, but if it wasn't damaged or coming to the end of its date, I'd get in trouble. I say, "No, sorry, I can't. These are fresh." I had just refilled the tray a little while before. She says, "But my grandson has been such a good boy. He deserves treats." I stared at her, dumbfounded. Who actually says that? Not to mention the gingerbread are pretty cheap already. The cheapest thing we sold. I say, "Sorry, I can't. Do you still want some?" The back and forth continued, her telling me what a good boy he had been, schoolwork, and so on. Sorry, I tend to tune out and nod along when I'm bored. I repeatedly tell her I can't reduce the cheap biscuits until eventually I have to just say sorry and walk away. What, you wouldn't even give away free stuff because her kid had been good? Man, what's wrong with you? Everyone knows that if a kid gets good grades, everyone owes them something. I mean, that's why they use the excuse, right? It's gotta work sometimes at least. Alright, now for the proverbial entitled parent story. So entitled parent, kids on a trampoline, a power washer, a German Shepherd, and the police. So background, all neighbors and I live on 1/4 to half-acre lots. So entitled dad, his wife, and son, which was around 4, moved in on 1-5, directly behind me. My property is tiered. First level is house, patio furniture, grill, and metal dog pen. Second level is swimming pool. Third is large shed, potting stand, covered area for lawn equipment. And fourth is trampoline, baseball training equipment with area for playing catch and vegetable garden. I call it my back 40. The entitled dad moved in and began yelling at my kids to quiet down, get off the trampoline as he wanted to have a quiet breakfast with his family every weekend, and to read his newspaper in the early evening out on his deck. I agreed my kids would play on the 4th level between the hours of 10 and 6, and he was out of luck if we were in our pool or barbecuing. Levels 1 and 2, whatever time of day. I talked to my other neighbors to see if the kids were disturbing them. They weren't. It's half an acre, for crying out loud. It's not an apartment, but I wanted to be neighborly. So, the incident. My husband's boss gets married. His new wife has 2 kids, and their sitter fell through the day before their honeymoon cruise. My husband offered to watch their kids, meaning me. It's 4 p.m., and all 4 kids are jumping on the trampoline. Our dog is in her pen because she wouldn't stop jumping on the trampoline with them. I'm nearby harvesting veggies while I hear the entitled dad say, "Shut the F up," and I see him on the back fence with a power washer, which he used on each of the kids, spraying them off the tramp onto the ground. They're screaming, crying, and wet. I quickly assess each kid. Nothing's broken, but they're bleeding from cuts and road rash. I tell the kids to run inside, lock the door, and call 911, as the entitled dad jumps the fence into my yard. He's walking towards me, screaming profanity and threatening bodily harm, and I'm walking backwards and yelling at him to get off my property. So this guy is 6 foot, he's 40-ish, a bodybuilder. I'm 43, female, and 5 foot. Not exactly an even match. He backs me down onto my patio level where my dog is going crazy in her pen. I said, "I'm giving you to the count of 3 to get off my property or I'm going to let the dog out, and she will kill you." 1, and my hand is on the opening mechanism. The guy starts walking up the stairs, still screaming and threatening me. 2, the guy steps on the 3rd level going up to level 4, turns around and says, "F it," and starts walking back down towards me, fast, and says, "I'm gonna beat you until your eyes bleed." 3, I let the dog out and both ran. The entitled dad hurdled the fence, but the dog caught his sweatpants leg and hung there, pulling the sweatpants down and mooned. The guy wasn't wearing underpants. I yell, "Leave it, get in your pen." The dog released him and I put her in the pen. Behind me, I hear, "Freeze! Hands where I could see them! Get down on the ground!" And 4 police have guns drawn on me, and I comply. I'll quicken the pace of the story. There were 3 911 calls stating someone was being killed. I give my statement, and 2 of the police go to my back fence and climb over, while the 3rd is on his shoulder radio calling for other units to go to the entitled dad's house. So police 4 and 5 are talking to the kids, giving them sticker badges and teddy bears to calm them down, and policeman 6 is mad as heck. Well, they all were. The kids went to the hospital, nothing's broken, but stitches for 3 of them. So the court case... So the entitled dad was arrested, charged with felony child abuse, assault on 4 minors, and his bail was $300,000. Restraining orders were issued. The case didn't go to trial as he pled out. In the aftermath, his house was put up for sale. His wife gave us A's tickets for 1 open house and Great America tickets for the 2nd open house. They had paid $1.2 million for their house in 105 and sold it 605 for $785K. All this for a quiet breakfast with your family and read your newspaper in peace. What a jerk. Well, that's a pretty loaded story. I think that spraying a power washer on some kids telling them to be quiet is a little bit of an overreaction. Just my opinion, though. I mean, it's kind of odd that somebody so wealthy like that would just throw away their life like that. It's kind of extreme. Next up we've got, "If you're unhappy with it, sue me." Okay then. So this happened circa 2013. I used to have my hair dyed in a lot of different colors. Think pink, purple, green, blue, all the colors in the rainbow. And I always took pride in my hair. I won't have false modesty, I had pretty awesome hair, so while taking care of that, people started asking me what my upkeep was. Because of that, I started a blog to tell what I did to my hair, and in that blog, I posted photos of my hair adventures. It wasn't huge, I didn't have that many followers, I was in the low hundreds, not a big blogger in no way imaginable, it was just for fun. One day I received a message from a friend saying that he saw a photo of me in a catalog of some brand of hair dye, congratulating me. I was surprised and kind of miffed about it. I asked him to take some pics of the catalog and send it to me, and there it was, a photo I had uploaded to my blog. Immediately, I went to the company's website and took a look at the online catalog, and there it was again. I sent an email to the company asking them to take it down, and they couldn't just use my photo for advertising. No answer. I sent a message on their Facebook page telling them the same thing I said on the email, but less politely, I must admit. This time I got an answer. They could send me a few bottles of dye. I could even choose the colors they would send. It was good exposure. Why was I so mad about it? Well, the thing is, I don't know how it works in other countries, but here we have something called Direito de Imagem. It means that no one can use your image without your authorization, specifically if the person had monetary gain because of your image. I responded to their message saying that they should take everything down and pull every catalog that had my photo in it, that I haven't given authorization, so they couldn't use it. Simple as that. There was some back and forth. They were saying that they wouldn't stop using my photo and it was good exposure, that I was greedy because they had already made an offer to give me some products, and I saying adamantly that the photo must go. The head of the marketing company messages me, then she gets all cocky saying that if I don't want the hair dye, I would get nothing, that they didn't do anything wrong. And here comes in the malicious compliance. She says, "If you're unhappy with the outcome, sue me." Okay, I will sue the company and you, personally, because you are the person responsible for the catalog, and she admitted that she was the one who designed it. Long story short, I did sue them, I won, I was awarded a hefty sum, but I still haven't gotten paid because they took everything they owned out of their names and stopped using their bank accounts. That is more common than not in my country, unfortunately. The thing that brought this back to memory is that she messaged me on Facebook today, asking me to make some sort of agreement with her because it's been hell. Her credit is destroyed, she can't use any bank account, she can't have anything to her name, and it's been really hard on her, and she's another victim of the company's owner. She basically asked me to stop pursuing payment. I forwarded everything to my lawyer and will let him handle everything, but I really wanted to say to her, I only did what you asked me to, I sued you. I don't know what country this is, but that marketing director sounds pretty stupid. Yeah, we did something illegal, why don't you punish me? It's like, okay, here's your punishment. And we got lots of interesting stories today. This one's called Just because I work at McDonald's doesn't mean I'll sell my child. Okay. Just a little note before we get started. My son looks nothing like me, and I have a baby face, so when people see my son and I, they see a babysitter, not mother. I'd just gotten off work, and my husband was waiting for me with our son, who was 4 months old at the time. We ordered something to go, and my husband went to use the bathroom while my coworkers cooed over the baby at the pickup counter. I see this older man watching us, but I dismiss it because my son usually gets a lot of attention. Plus, he came to McDonald's pretty regularly and didn't raise any red flags. He came up to us and smiled at my son and asked if he could hold him. I politely declined. He pulls a 20 out of his wallet. "Why don't you take this and get yourself a sandwich and leave the baby with me?" he said, trying to hand the money. "No, thank you." I tried to be polite. I needed my job. We just got a new general manager and I wanted to make a good impression. He says, "Aren't you hungry? It's so hard to work 2 jobs. I'm sure if anything happened, the parents wouldn't blame you." I was about to go off on him when my husband came out of the bathroom and placed himself between the man and me. "Oh, you must be the father." He offered my husband the money, but didn't talk about taking our son. We made our way out of the store, and the man followed, offering us money the entire way. My husband, fed up, stopped on a dime. The man ran into him, and my husband stared daggers at the man until he went back into the store. A few weeks later, he came back to the store. He ranted about how he could have given that baby a better life than that young man. I told him that I was the mother, and he could get his sausage biscuits somewhere else because he wasn't welcome here anymore. So creep that tried to buy my son, let's not meet again. I mean, $20 for a kid seems a bit on the cheap side. I mean, you gotta offer at least like $50. I mean, the kid is 4 months old, they don't come cheap. I'm just joking, you guys, don't report me for human trafficking or something. So we got one more good story from Tales from Call Centers. We've never done one of these before. So it's called Don't Use That Mute Button. So I worked with this guy for almost 3 years. He was a really great guy, funny, experienced, and he even brought in donuts for all of us once a week. I learned a lot from this dude. I don't think I would have made it a year if not for him. I seriously thought that he should be a trainer, but he had one bad habit. He used the mute button to curse customers out. I can understand why. Working in cable is hard. You get some very bad calls, like constantly. They range from stupidity to annoying and even downright horrible. I told him time and time again, "Dude, don't use the mute button to curse people out. If you have to use it, then just use it to breathe. You can curse people out in your break or lunch. Dude, we all talk about it anyway at lunch, like group therapy, for crying out loud." But nope, he would constantly use it. For example, I would hear him go, "Yes, ma'am, your bill is $300. Pause. "Because you missed your payment for the past 2 months, ma'am." And then on mute. "Oh my gosh, what a C word. Dude, can you believe this? This biche doesn't even pay her bill for 2 months and she wants us to waive it. WTF?" And then off mute. "Yes, ma'am, I understand." Then one day I witnessed this. He does his intro. "Yes, sir, I understand you're not happy about your bill." Pause. "Well, sir, you've made full payment on your account for the past 3 months. You only deposited $69 and your bill is $150. "Yes, well, unfortunately, this is the reason why it's so high." Then on mute. "Dude, can you believe this mother effer? He paid $60 for 3 months on his bill and wonders why it's so freaking high. What a moron." His face goes white. Yes, sir, I know. I'm very sorry. I apologize, sir. From the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry. Supervisor? Yes, sir." I never heard from him again. Don't use that mute button, folks. Don't use that mute button. You're bound to mess it up eventually. Yeah, putting all your trust in that one mute button, you're really playing with fire. Instead, you should take advice from the question of the day, which is, what's the best way to pass time at a boring desk job? So I'm a software developer, but I'm pretty fresh to the industry, so my company doesn't throw me a whole lot of work just yet. I've been learning to do some graphic design stuff on the side with the software that comes on my work computer. Man, I actually stayed like 2 hours late last night because I was too deep into the stuff I was making. Yeah, I would say that goes for not just like being bored at work, but even if you're just bored at home, download like Photoshop or something. It could be a lot of fun to learn these new softwares, and then you might actually be able to make money off of those skills later. Podcasts are a great way to pass time, especially long episodes. Hey, you know, you could also just imagine if the internet was real, or I mean, you could listen to my videos and I can help you with that. Or you could just stare at the wall and think about all the places you went wrong in your life. There's also that. I drink a lot of water. I walk to the water cooler constantly and to the bathroom just as often. The best part, it's good for you. Yeah, I've done this plenty of times. You're just chugging down water bottles, going to pee every 15 minutes. Get good at chess. 3 or more days per move so you can walk away from the app. The rules never change, and tactics puzzles are the way to go. I listen to great literature minds. Most of, if not all, public domain books are posted on YouTube. Listen at 2x speed for bonus points. I find new music. Spotify's radio feature is great for this because it allows you to find tracks by similar artists, songs, and albums. Practice meditation, concentration, and mindfulness are skills that need to be actively developed. Learn new skills. YouTube is indispensable for learning coding, new languages, and anything under the sun. Start with things you imagine would be interesting as a kid. Better yourself. You spend most of your waking life at work, and you'll never achieve happiness by twiddling your thumbs. And when all else fails, browse Reddit. But what if Reddit is your job? I like eavesdropping. See how far you can listen when you focus. Just pay attention to all the conversations going on across the room. I like to send inflammatory emails to addresses picked at random from the company directory. Will it be a supervisor? A subordinate? That suspicious-looking guy with a nervous tic whom everyone suspected of bringing a hooker to the holiday party? What repercussions could you expect? Will Deborah file another sexual harassment lawsuit? Will Dan go on another break room bender? Will you be fired for inappropriate behavior? Promoted for being just the right amount of crazy? Regardless of what happens, you'll be in for an adventure. And what's more, you'll get some exercise out of it too. Granted, it won't do much if you're trying to bulk up, but it's a great way to get your heart going. Man, what could possibly be the benefit of doing something like this? I guess if you're just looking for a thrill, trying to stir up some drama. Well, that's all the responses that I pulled. You know, I've worked a lot of jobs where I just had a ton of downtime and nothing to do. My go-tos, I'll usually spend a lot of time on YouTube just because I'm completely addicted to YouTube. But in jobs where I couldn't go on YouTube, one of the things I used to spend a lot of time at one of my jobs was just going on Google Maps. I used to just spend hours on Google Maps just exploring the world. Go on to Street View in some place you've never been, you know, just go on like a virtual vacation. You can actually find a lot of really interesting things if you spend enough time there. But anyways, that does it for today's video. I think this one went pretty well. I feel like this is one of the better videos I've made for a while. So if you enjoyed, go ahead and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.